Hello and welcome. Tonight, service chiefs and heads of other security agencies vow to capture bandit kingpin Bello Turji as armed forces seek the collaboration of Nigerians in the fight against banditry and kidnapping in the country. Floods wreak havoc in Maiduguri, Borno State, submerging roads and houses as Vice President Shetima wades through the torrents. Nigeria's #2 citizen assures residents and Nigerians that the administration of President Bola Tinubu will tackle the challenges of flood in Nigeria. And ahead of the Edo State governorship election, the State Police Command promises to rid the state of illegal firearms.
On business news, global benchmark crude oil Brent drops below $70 a barrel, hitting its lowest since December 2021.
On sports news tonight, the Super Eagles of Nigeria held to a goalless draw by Rwanda in Kigali, but the three-time African champions retained leadership of their qualifying group.
And from the nation's capital, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Olaolu Kayode, says the commission will soon be prosecuting bank executives involved in corruption.
And in international news from London, the Hamas-run health ministry says at least 19 people have been killed in an overnight Israeli strike in the designated humanitarian zone in southern Gaza.
The Armed Forces of Nigeria is again assuring Nigerians and all residents that the military, in collaboration with other security agencies, is working tirelessly to arrest Bello Turji, a bandit kingpin operating along the Sokoto-Zamfara state axis. Addressing a news conference in Abuja after a meeting of service chiefs and heads of other security agencies, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, vows to capture the bandit kingpin in addition to neutralizing other criminal elements terrorizing the country. The Chief of Defense Staff equally appealed to Nigerians to partner with security agencies in order to contain the activities of bandits and kidnappers.
The Chief of Defense Staff, accompanied by service chiefs and heads of other security agencies, here to update Nigerians in their efforts to combat the nation's security challenges.
Today, since morning, we've been having...
Prior to this moment, the service chiefs had a security meeting behind closed doors. The Chief of Defense Staff starts by laying the foundation for this briefing.
We know that the security situation is not as expected. We want to call on all of us that this is the time that we need to come together as one people, as one country, in order to tackle the menace of banditry, of terrorism, of cultism, of armed robbery, sea piracy, pipeline vandalism, and all acts of criminality. Together, we shall succeed. That I can assure you.
The Defense Headquarters also used the opportunity to reel out the successes recorded in the various theaters of operation.
It is those successes recorded in these operations that underpin the stable security environment in the northeast, particularly the Borno area. There have been huge returns. Approximately 170,000 locals have been able to return to their homelands in Borno, Yobe, and other states. There has also been a location of IDPs, about 60,000 IDPs, in conjunction with the Borno state government, thereby decongesting some of the IDP camps. Our adversaries, about 225,517 terrorists and their families, have so far surrendered.
The Chief of Defense Staff vows to arrest Bello Turji, a bandit kingpin. He also appeals to Nigerians to partner with security agencies in the fight against insurgency.
The issue of Turji, like I said, is just a deranged individual that feels power, but I can bet you that it's just a matter of time. A matter of time, we're going to get this, and I can assure you, within the shortest possible time, we're going to address that issue on payment. On the issue of payment, that is what they live on, and it shows you the desperation they are in. One, even when they get the money, they don't have where to use it. Two, is that the money they're getting, they know is blood money.
The security chiefs are promising to end banditry, kidnapping, and other criminal activities in the country.
Ahead of the Edo State governorship election on September the 21st, the Commissioner of Police has given assurances of security agencies to ensure that the exercise is peaceful as security officers begin clamp down on people with illegal firearms. Now, the police chief gave the assurance at a meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee meeting on election security in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Now, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, says he's also optimistic that the exercise will be a success considering the level of preparation by the commission.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, along with some national commissioners, are in Benin, the Edo State capital, for an election preparedness assessment ahead of the September 21 governorship election in the state. Some of the INEC offices visited by the chairman include Ikoba Oka, Ego, Oredo, and Ovia Northeast local government. The INEC chairman also led the entourage to some of the centers where mock accreditation of voters took place and expressed satisfaction with the preparations.
We are satisfied with both the level of preparation of our local government offices and the 3 offices we have visited, Oredo, Ego, and Ikpoba, as well as the 2 centers we have visited for the mock exercise. I think we are good to go, both for voter accreditation as well as the upload of the results to the IRF portal.
Back at the INEC state office, the INEC chairman meets with members of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security for a brief on security preparations. The state police commissioner informs the gathering about efforts to rid the state of illegal firearms ahead of the election.
We are not happy with possession of illegal arms by individuals, non-state actors, and so we are clamping down on them. All we have to do in the interest of a safe environment for the election. I assure you that we have enough manpower. We have support from state organizations, and we are really prepared for the election. But primarily, I have to assure you that we have units that are coming in. Before now, our intelligence units have been in town. They're already in town. And so we're able to filter information, get information, work on them, process them, and see how we could nip most of this in the board. Some of the arrests that are made, which I'm sure is a bit uncomfortable for some people, is because we want to make the area comfortable.
It's less than 2 weeks to the election, and security is a major concern following clashes among political rivals earlier recorded at the beginning of the campaigns in the state.
Meanwhile, some angry youth have taken to the streets of Benin City, the Edo State capital, protesting alleged arrest of some members of the People's Democratic Party, including the chairman of Esan West local government area, Collins Aigbogo. The protesters marched to the police command headquarters, demanding the immediate release of the arrested council boss, but to no avail. The group thereafter moved on to the government house to express their grievances. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki in his address accused the All Progressives Congress of intimidation, insisting that the APC is allegedly working with the Nigeria police to intimidate and arrest PDP leaders and, if possible, himself.
It is not in anybody's interest to undermine our democracy, particularly the police force. The police force is supposed to protect every Nigerian, and not some. I called the commissioner of police yesterday when I heard that they had arrested one of you. And he said he was going to get back to me, and until I speak now, I have not heard from him. Rather, I understand that that person has been transferred to Abuja. It is unconstitutional. It is not right. I am the chief security officer of Edo State. If a citizen of Edo State commits a crime in Edo, he should be arrested and charged in Edo State and not abducted to Abuja. I am going to make this known to the Inspector General of Police, and if the plan is not to have elections in Edo, then the world will know. So please be peaceful. Let's wait for the IG to come in tomorrow, and I will let my feelings known to him, because they are creating a very, very dangerous situation. Edo is a very unique state, and they should not hold anybody responsible if they create crisis. crisis in Edo, because a crisis in Edo can snowball into anything, and we don't want it for Nigeria.
Still talking Edo politics, well, the 2024 Edo Governorship Election Peace and Security Summit under the aegis of Impact Development Initiative, KDI, was held in Benin City, the Edo state capital. Now, the event pulled in a huge array of stakeholders ahead of the September 21st governorship poll, which is almost a week and a few days away from today. Now, the dignitaries turned up from the 3 different senatorial districts of Edo State and even beyond. Our correspondent, Osaze Obaze, reports.
Stakeholders of various interests are here to put together ways of ensuring that the upcoming Edo governorship election delivers a violence-free and democratic outcome.
We have a role to play to engender peace.
The chairperson of Edo State Peace and Mediation Working Committee sets the tone for the conversation.
Elections are a cornerstone of our democracy. They represent the voice of the people and the pathway through which would shape our collective future. However, elections to truly reflect the will of the people, they must be conducted in an atmosphere of peace and mutual respect. This is why we are here today.
The police and sister security agencies say they are in sync already and will rise up to the occasion.
We are sure that we are going to manage the atmosphere. We are going to ensure that these basics are in place. We also ensure that observers, persons, bodies, organizations who are going to come into Edo State for the exercise of 21st will have a better information and better news to convey to the outside world.
General Abdul Salam Abubakar, retired former Nigeria's military head of state, delivered a message presented by Father Atta Barkindo, the executive director of the Kulka Center.
We are gathered here to remind ourselves that peace is not just a destination. Rather, it is a process. It is a constant search and a journey towards a better future.
Is there a role?
The second part of the event was a panel of discussions on ways of avoiding election violence.
What will make evil to continue to thrive in our society is for good men and women to say nothing. So as religious people, we are no longer going to keep our mouth shut.
On the part of the security agencies, for the ICPC in particular, ours is to ensure drastically reduced essence of vote buying and selling. Whoever is found wanting, of course, will hand over to the security agencies.
The event ends by demonstrating the commitment to peaceful election by various stakeholders. Osaze Obaze, Channels Television News.
In part 2 after the break, floods wreak havoc in Maiduguri, Borno State, submerging roads and houses as Vice President Kashim Shettima wades through the torrents. Nigeria's number 2 citizen assures residents and Nigerians that the administration of President Bola Tinubu will tackle the challenges of flood in Nigeria. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. Tinubu will tackle the challenges of flood in the country. Ahead of the Edo State governorship polls, the State Police Command promises to rid the state of illegal firearms. And the Hamas-run health ministry says at least 19 people have been killed in an overnight Israeli strike in the designated humanitarian zone in southern Gaza. The Labour Party presidential candidate in the last general election, Mr. Peter Obi, has told the electorate in Edo State that they can create a better Nigeria, starting with Edo State, by voting the party's candidate in the forthcoming Edo governorship election. Mr. Obi, who took the Labour Party campaign rally along with the party's governorship candidate and other members of the party around major streets and markets, including New Benin, Mission Road, Oba Market, and Uwelu Spare Parts Market in Benin City, said the Labour Party is fighting to ensure hunger, poverty and insecurity end in the land, explaining that the people's role is to vote the right candidate. He reminded the people to note the father, mother and child symbol on the ballot on election day as they vote for the Labour Party.
Papa, Mama, Pikin, we go look me there and Kadiri, and go with me. Hunger there too much. Security not there. Road not there. Everything not covered. All we want in Nigeria is change. We want to put food in our table. We want people to don't tell us what is the big money when they remove for fuel. They do. We want a better area. So to say, you know what it's going to do. Go out and vote for Mama, Papa. Mama, Papa. Let we begin repair Nigeria from Ego. Go out and support Olumide Amata. Who is your guy? Who is your guy? Your guy is Olumide.
So let's now head to the nation's capital where Terry Kumi is standing by to give us the very latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Terry.
Well, hello, Ayo. A devastating flood in Kafanchan of Jema local government area of Kaduna State has claimed the lives of 2 children, washed away farmlands and displaced hundreds of people following heavy rainfall which occurred in the area some days ago. The vice chairman of Jema local government area, Mrs. Christy Usman, made the disclosure when the Kaduna State Flood Assessment Committee led by the Chief of Staff to Governor Obasani, Mr. Sani Kila, visited the area to assess the impact of flooding in the southern part of the state. During the visit, the governor's chief of staff warned residents against building along waterways and indiscriminate dumping of refuse on drains in order to mitigate flooding during the raining season.
We have places like Jagindi, Aso Ward, all those areas are affected. You see, their farmlands are washed away by this flood. So I'm sure the government is going to do something. We thank the Chief of Staff for representing the governor here.
All in an effort to get an accurate assessment of the havoc wreaked by the flood disaster, as well as having a reliable data of the victims involved. For instance, the first point of call was Sanga local government. Sanga local government, we visited Nandun, Gonti, and Abon. At Abon, it was totally a case of a collapsed bridge. It cut off link between Sanga and like 3 or 5 villages around. There was no facility. Equally at Nandun and Gonti, there were cases of collapsed buildings. It is not actually easy. Government cannot do it alone. The community leaders, the religious leaders, I and you must team up and support as well as complement the effort of the government in making sure that things, disasters like this are being avoided.
Now, several roads and houses in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, have come under heavy impact from flood waters. Residents of the affected communities have been forced out of their homes and business areas and are now seeking respite in other city centers. The flood waters come after days of torrential rains and the reported opening of Alo Dam to prevent a breakup.
Vice President Kashim Shettima assessing the flood situation in Maiduguri, Borno State after days of flooding. Wading through the body of water, he drives through the city to catch a glimpse of the devastation. He makes a stop at the Bakassi IDP camp where some of the displaced persons are temporarily taking refuge. He makes a stop at the Palace of the Sheikh of Borno, which has been partly submerged. The flood impacted Maiduguri metropolis and parts of Jere local government area, affecting houses, shops, and critical infrastructure, including major roads. Vehicular movement is restricted as a result of the flood, as critical facilities are affected. Thousands of residents living along the waterways and flood-prone areas, mostly women and children, are displaced. Though the state has been experiencing heavy rainfall, the flood has been traced to the release of water from the Alo Dam, a major source of water supply to Maiduguri. Although the state government has allayed fears of flood, communities have been grappling with the effects of the leakage from the dam and heavy rainfall.
The dam has not broken down. It is actually the damaged parts that is overspilling. But at the same time, even when it overspills, the river behind us, River Yetsaram, is where the water drains into.
Developed a strategy to address perennial flooding and other environmental crises confronting the state as a medium-term plan.
All the flood-prone areas has been taken over with development. People build house on flood-prone areas.
And once we monitor our dams, we check the inflow, we release the water out, the impact can be minimal. But in the absence of this, we'll continue to have perennial flooding because it is expected. Climate is changing.
According to the National Emergency Management Agency, 7 lives have been lost, 150,000 persons are displaced, and about 7,000 houses are affected.
The federal government is planning to strengthen operation centers to address public health emergencies. The chief consultant epidemiologist at the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Ganiyu Jamiu, made the announcement at a closeout ceremony of the USAID COVID-19 Impact Mitigation Protection. Dr. Jamiu adds that the federal government is committed to improving primary health outcomes through a strengthened emergency response approach.
We now felt, why not just try to say we can make the current public health EOCs more robust, thereby bringing those aspects of emergency medical services. And that was what informed the need for us to quickly add an assessment of all the emergency operation center in all that CZ and FCT. And actually that was a great eye-opener in the sense that we realized that some don't even have a building to call EOC centers. What they use is just, they carry out, they call it a reactive kind of a thing. When there's an outbreak, that is when people come, gather themselves in one office and call it emergency operation center. But with this, we're able to see that there is need for us to have a structure, and not just having structure, there is need for us to equip that structure so that it will look more functional, to be able to respond to our emergencies, whether it's public health, whether it's medical emergency or whatever. And that will include bringing on board all major stakeholders that go beyond health.
Still ahead on the news at 10, global benchmark crude oil Brent drops below $70 a barrel, hitting its lowest since December 2021. That's on Business News. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the news at 10. The chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Olaolu Kayode, has announced that the commission will soon be prosecuting bank executives involved in corruption. Speaking at the 17th annual conference of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, Mr. Olukayode says the commission's findings reveal complicity in money laundering, illegal forex sales, and trading among bank officials. While calling on the institute to step up its regulatory functions to guard against fraud, The EFCC boss says major financial fraud was conducted through the nation's banking system.
The 17th annual conference of the Chartered Institute of Bankers is drawing the participation of top government officials, including Vice President Kashim Shettima and key players in the banking sector. The president of the institute gives his welcome remarks, restating the banking sector's role in economic development through policies of government through institutions such as the central bank.
While the current administration has put in place various policies to make this growth a reality, we acknowledge that there is also a quite significant role the bank should play.
However, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has a different reaction to the role of some bankers. He says the commission plans to come after them soon.
We will no longer fold our arms. As a matter of fact, some of the mind-boggling major financial fraud that has been carried out that looked like an onslaught against the economy was done through the banking industry. And it's so sad that we have also compiled our documents, we have made the necessary investigation, we have concluded on certain, and very soon you'll see some banks being prosecuted, some top officials being prosecuted. We need to just do something drastic.
Vice President Kashim Shettima is the special guest of honor, and he is here to declare the conference open.
Kindly sit down, please.
He reels out some of the policies of government across all sectors to boost socio-economic development.
Stabilizing foreign exchange market and improving fiscal management. For painful in the short term, the removal of fuel subsidies is designed to free up budgetary resources for critical investments in infrastructure and social services, and frequent adjustment of the monetary policy rate, a move aimed at curbing inflation and fostering a more market-oriented exchange rate system. 2. Targeted social investment programs. Recognizing the impact of inflation on vulnerable populations, we have enhanced social protection programs, including cash transfer schemes, by providing direct payments to 75 million Nigerians in 50 million households to reduce the suffering of citizens, especially vulnerable groups.
A lot of resolutions will be reached at the end of this meeting, and one of such is the call for more investment to boost socio-economic growth in the country.
And it's a wrap from the nation's capital. Back to Ayo in Lagos for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Terry. Let's take it back to Edo State for more political stories. Well, the wards in Owa East local government area of the state were the locations for the APC campaign rallies ahead of the Edo September 21st governorship election. Now, the APC campaign team assured the people of the area that its candidates are versed in delivering development projects to the grassroots, as they have been close to their communities over the years.
The APC campaign team's presence on Uoha Town Playground catches the people's attention. It's the first stop for the campaign train in Owa East local government area of Edo State. Ward 5 members of the APC and supporters of the party in the area are also here, and the APC tells them of benefits they stand to gain if their candidates are elected.
A man who will return education of our children to a level that we can compete anywhere in the world. The foundation for the future lies in sound basic education.
I'm here to bring you hope. I am here to make sure that everything you have lost, you recover it back. We are going to employ over 5,000 teachers within our 100 days in office. We will innovate our schools. We will make sure schools are habitable for our children to go.
From Oka, A similar message is taken to party faithful in Ward 6, 8 and 9, gathered at the Oluma Town Hall Playground in Otuo Community, also in Owa East Local Government Area.
Ward 6, Ward 7, Ward 6.
Former Governor Adams Oshomole says the plans for the area's development are constantly on the minds of the party and its candidates for the election.
We will rescue that health center, that hospital that's already built. I discussed it with you when we were coming now. All you need to do is to refurbish it, because when you lock up a building, it starts rotting. And they buy equipment, employ doctors and nurses, possibly build doctors' quarters, nurses' quarters, to be at the resident accommodation for the doctors. All those are already there.
The APC governorship candidate reminds the electorate that 21st September is an important date and a role expected of them on that day.
That is the day we will tell this government of PDP our Mumu don't do.
The party supporters are also reminded that the APC candidates are close to the grassroots and are familiar with the needs of local communities, a reason they believe they can serve the state well if given the chance.
The Nigerian government has termed as wrong and false accusations of human rights abuse because the Nigeria Labour Congress President Joe Ajaero was stopped from travelling abroad. According to a statement by the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy to President Bola Tinubu, Bayo Onanuga, the Trade Union Congress in the United Kingdom opened its conference today in London, with its leader making false claims about human rights abuses and violations in Nigeria based on a misunderstanding of the situation on the ground. Now, the presidential aide stated that Mr. Ajaero was picked up after he snubbed the invitation of law enforcement agency conducting an ongoing investigation, which has nothing to do with his position as NLC president. Mr. Onanuga said the Nigerian government is being led by a pro-democracy activist president who will do everything to protect civil liberties and the rights of all citizens, and that there is no adversarial relationship between the labor movement in Nigeria and the government. He says the administration of President Bola Tinubu will continue to promote the best economic interest of Nigerians despite the current challenges, and will also continue to pursue policies and programs that will expand national economic output and create prosperity for the citizens. A group of Benin indigents under the aegis of Concerned People of Benin today embarked on a protest in Benin City, the Edo State capital, against what they termed Governor Godwin Obaseki's disrespect for the revered Benin monarch, His Royal Majesty Omonoba Nedo Okuwakpolokpolo Iware II, the Oba of Benin. Now, the group, which decried the governor's interest in the looted Benin artifacts, demanded an apology to the Oba of Benin from the governor, insisting they will continue making their demands until they are met.
We are here today to protest, peaceful protest, about what the governor of Edo State has been doing with the Oba of Benin, which is unacceptable. We don't like it. The Benin nation, we are not happy about it. What has been happening? Fighting about artifacts, and sending people to instigating people to misbehave with the palace of the Oba of Benin is unacceptable. We are Benin women, and we reject that. We need a strong apology from Governor Godwin Obaseki. She should apologize to the Oba of Benin Palace and to the Benin nation. This must be done, and that is why we are doing this peaceful protest today.
As a Benin nation, as a Benin people, we are not happy about what he has been doing to the palace of the Oba of Benin. He has been fighting the artifact with our Oba, artifact that he knows nothing about, that doesn't belong to Edo State. He has been fighting the palace because of the artifact, and he has instigated some enigies to separate our kingdom. No man born by a woman can separate our kingdom. This is why we are passing a message. Last week, we gave him an ultimatum of 7 days to apologize to the Oba of Benin for all he has done against the Benin people, and he has refused to do it. Now we are coming out on a protest. If he refuses to apologize, public apology to the Oba of Benin, we will know the next step to take.
Time now for business news with Will Ibo. Will?
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first. First Bank.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Welcome to Business News. Global benchmark crude oil price, Brent, dropped by 3.91%, falling below $70 per barrel for the first time since December 2021. And U.S. crude also fell by 3.79%, trading at $65.61 per barrel. The drop adds pressure on Nigeria's naira, which is about 1,600 naira to $1, and challenges the government's 2024 budget, which set oil at $77 per barrel. Crude oil production so far has missed the 1.7 million barrels per day target and the OPEC quota of 1.5 million barrels per day. As recent OPEC data shows, Nigeria's oil production rose slightly to 1.3 million barrels per day. Meanwhile, lower oil prices could offer relief at the pump, despite NNPCL's petrol price hike to 897 naira per litre last week. The Nigerian banking sector is facing serious challenges that could slow its growth, and that's according to the chairman of UBA Group, Mr. Tony Elumelu. Mr. Elumelu says high regulatory and compliance costs are putting pressure on banks and could hurt their ability to boost economic growth. Mr. Elumelu made these remarks during the keynote speech today at the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, 17th Annual Banking and Finance Conference. He warns that regulatory hurdles need urgent attention and calls on government agencies, regulatory bodies, and banking institutions to engage in meaningful dialogue to create a more supportive environment for the sector. Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of Finance with Mukhtar, Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed, believes that the negative sentiment displayed by especially retail investors in Nigeria can be traced to policy inconsistency. Mr. Mohammed, who was a guest on Business Morning, is asking the government to communicate and sustain plans with the citizens.
People expected these policies that would come in, would drive the market, and people, when it came up with that policy, that would that call it famous or infamous statement? Subsidies gone. Everybody say, well, finally the reform has started. Then along the line, people begin to see that, oh look, there seems to be a drawback. Policy somersault here and there. Today is this, tomorrow is this. Starting from the monetary side, CBN is giving cash to be really changed today. Tomorrow is no more selling cash. Tomorrow is there was so much policy somersault. So a lot of investors began to say, look, they seem not to have gotten their act together. So that was one. Then in terms of sentiment towards him, people feel that his policy does not have a human face, especially they are not looking at the bottom end. If you look at the policy that they have driven, that have really moved the stock market today, is mostly policy that has to do with floating of the naira and also removal of subsidy. And when you look at that, how many Nigerians are really in the stock market? So most of his policy tend to favor those that have liquidity. Those people that already have liquidity doesn't seem to favor new entrance into the market. So what you're seeing, you're not seeing new entrance. So a lot, that's why you seem to be slowed down, especially with the recent pronouncement that, oh, coming from NNPC, we've been paying subsidy over somewhere, and people is like, oh, we thought subsidy is gone. So those policy somersault that you see either from the monetary side or from the physical side, it's not doing the market any good.
Let's check it now on the performance of the domestic equities market, which saw a rebound in today's trading session. John Mekwa has the details.
Everyone, welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, I'm happy to report to you a green market at the close of Tuesday's trade. The recovery is the sum of 343 billion naira today gained and added to this market cap to bring it up to 55.626 trillion naira. The Osha index is up 0.62%, more than half a percentage. Yes, but we are not on 97 yet, so keep our fingers crossed. Perhaps we'll do that now. Who did this today? It's MTN Nigeria. Major
major market mover. Has been slipping for a couple of sessions, but it's back. It opened at 179 naira 80 kobo, but closed at 192 naira 80 kobo. That's a huge gain for investors in this stock. About 13 naira 50 kobo added to each of their investment at the close of today. Now let's look at the sectors. That tells us even more about this. We see banking. Banking is down today after the recovery of yesterday. Access Co and UBA dropped that counter down 0.51%. Consumer goods is also in the red today. Honeywell Flour and Dangote Sugar again. Investors seem determined to pick a lot of profits from Dangote Sugar. Oil and gas almost out of the green, but it's stopped at 0.01%. Rwanda is not far away from that, as well as Eternal Oil. They put that counter there. So at the close of trade today, for the first time this week, welcome to the bull.
And that's a wrap on business. It's back to you, Ayotunde.
Thank you, Will. At least 26 people have died after a boat carrying migrants capsized off the coast of Senegal. More than 100 people were reportedly on board the wooden fishing vessel when it sank just 4 kilometers into its journey. Only 4 people have been rescued and search efforts are still underway. Here's Sama Pusi with other international stories in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Hamas-run Health Ministry says at least 19 people have been killed in an overnight Israeli strike in the designated humanitarian zone in southern Gaza. Witnesses said the strike obliterated an area crowded with tents for displaced Palestinians in Al-Mawazi, southwest of Khan Yunis, leaving huge craters in the sand. The Israeli military said its aircraft attacked what it called a number of senior Hamas terrorists operating there, a claim Hamas denied. The military also disputed the initial death toll put out by the Hamas-run Civil Defense Authority, which reported that rescue teams had recovered more than 40 bodies. Russian officials say they have shot down 144 Ukrainian drones around the country overnight in a wave of attacks that have killed 1 woman, set residential buildings on fire and grounded flights in Moscow. The governor of Moscow, Andrei Vorobyov, said several flats in 2 high-rise apartment buildings in the Ramenskoye area in Moscow were set on fire. Ukraine has so far not commented on the attacks, but the Kremlin on Tuesday said the attack showed Ukraine was Russia's enemy. State media reported that the strikes shut down 4 airports in Moscow, and more than 30 domestic and international flights that served the Russian capital were suspended. A Kenyan hospital official has said the former boyfriend of the Ugandan Olympic athlete Rebecca Cheptegei, who killed her by setting her on fire, has himself died from burns sustained in the attack. Dixon Ndima ambushed the marathon runner as he returned home from church more than a week ago. He then doused her with petrol and set her ablaze. Local administrators said the two had been in conflict over a small piece of land in northwest Kenya where Cheptegei lived and trained. Ndima died on Monday night at the intensive care unit where, according to the hospital, he had been admitted with burns on more than 40% of his body. SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket carrying 4 private citizens has launched into space, where the crew will spend 5 days and attempt the world's first private spacewalk. 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. The mission is funded by billionaire Jared Isaacman and is the second privately crewed mission from SpaceX, the spaceflight company founded by Elon Musk. The spacecraft will eventually settle into an oval-shaped orbit, passing as close to the Earth as 190 kilometers and as far away as 1,400 kilometers, the farthest any humans will have ventured since the end of the US Apollo moon program in 1972. The Princess of Wales has spoken of her relief at completing her course of chemotherapy in a highly personal video released by Kensington Palace.
Max, you lead the way. As the summer comes to an end, I cannot tell you what a relief it is to have finally completed my chemotherapy treatment.
In an emotional video message, she says this year has been incredibly tough and that life as you know it can change in an instant.
and we've had to find a way to navigate the stormy waters and road unknown.
Catherine revealed in March that she was undergoing cancer treatment and has been out of sight of the public for much of this year. She will be carrying out a few engagements this year, which could include remembrance events in November and her annual Christmas Carol concert in December.
Hello. It's such huge and welcome news. And it comes at a time where a lot of people have been speculating why they haven't seen Kate out. The kids are back in school, William's returned to royal duty, and so there are a lot of questions of where Kate is. And so now that we've heard from her personally and the most intimate glimpse into her and her family's life, and so for now to be on the other side of her chemotherapy and looking forward to returning to work, but still focusing on her recovery and noting that there's a long road ahead.
And dozens of dogs have taken to the water in Del Mar in San Diego in the longest running canine surf competition in the country. The Helen Woodward Animal Center hosted its 19th annual Dog Surfathon at the Del Mar Dog Beach. Dogs wearing costumes and goggles rode their surfboards as owners cheered them on. The Helen Woodward Animal Center was established in 1972 as an organization where people help animals and animals help people. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Well, are the Super Eagles still on course for the qualification for AFCON 2025? Let's find out from Chris in the world of sports news.
Thank you, Ayo. Of course, the Super Eagles are still very much on course as they settled for a goalless draw at the refurbished Amahoro Stadium in Kigali earlier today. But the three-time African champions retained leadership of their qualifying group courtesy of a 3-0 win of Benin Republic in Uyo on Saturday. This is the third time the Eagles will be settling for a draw in Kigali as Nigeria forced a 1-1 draw in a 2006 FIFA World Cup qualifying match also at the Amahoro, and both teams drew 0-0 in a 2013 AFCON qualifier at the Stade Regional de Nyamirambo. Africa's biggest hope for podium appearance at the ongoing FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup, the Falconets have returned to the Colombia capital, Bogota, ahead of Friday morning's round of 16 clash with Japan. The Falconets reached the round of 16 after beating Korea Republic 1-0 and losing 1-3 to Germany, and then earning a fabulous 4-0 win over Venezuela in Cali. Vice President Joe Biden welcomed the University of South Carolina women's basketball team to the White House earlier today to congratulate them on their 2023-24 championship season. Biden congratulated coach Dawn Staley and her squad on a perfect 38 wins and unbeaten run in the season, only the 10th women basketball team to end the season undefeated.
Before you took the job with South Carolina, the women's team had just, had been to just 2 tournaments in 17 years. And now we're here to celebrate the 3rd national championship. 2nd in 3 years. With a 109-3 record in that span. You had to replace 5 starters due to the WNBA draft and graduation. And there were doubts all over about contending for the title this year. But for the record, and this is God's truth, I picked you to win.
And former athlete and gender-based violence activist Viola Cheptu has warned that the recent success of Kenyan women at the Olympics could attract unwanted attention and potentially lead to violence following last week's murder of Olympic runner Rebecca Cheptegei. Cheptegei, who competed in the marathon at the Paris Olympics, died on September the 5th after suffering burns to over 75% of her body in an attack perpetrated by her former boyfriend, Dixon Marangaj. That's it on sports. It's back to you, Ayo.
And the main news again. Service chiefs and heads of other security agencies have vowed to capture bandit kingpin Bello Turji as the armed forces sought the collaboration of Nigerians in the fight against banditry and kidnapping in